to the first episode of the Brewed Palate in the Kitchen. Here I'll be showcasing some of my current recipes that involve craft beer, and then as I try new recipes, I'll be posting videos and blog posts about those recipes that I try and how they came out. And of course give you the step-by-step how to make them. So the first recipe that I'm going to try is the first beer-related recipe that I came up with, which is for a smoked porter barbecue sauce. So the main two components that make it the smoked porter barbecue sauce are the Stone Smoked Porter, which is a year-round beer from Stone Brewing Company out of San Diego, California, specifically Escondido, and Chipotle Peppers, which are smoked dried jalapenos. Because I only have one camera filming, here are the ingredients that you'll need for this barbecue sauce. Okay, so once you assemble all your ingredients, of course you have to combine them in a pot because you're going to be simmering the sauce for about 20 to 30 minutes. So the base of it is the ketchup. So that's obviously the first ingredient you're going to put in. So what I did was, after I put the ketchup in, I, as you see, added the apple cider vinegar into the ketchup bottle and then shook it up to get all the leftover ketchup out of the bottle because I wanted to reuse it later. Then the next wet ingredient is the oil, which is just going to add flavor and help all the flavors combine as you add more to the sauce. Now, as you see, I'm eyeballing all the ingredients because I've made the sauce many times, but I would advise you to follow the recipe the first time you make it and see how it comes out, and then you could tweak it by taking away some vinegar or adding more sugar or more peppers, but I'm just eyeballing most of the ingredients. Next, here in the recipe, there's only 3/4 of a cup of sugar total because the ketchup and beer both have sugar in it and you don't want it to be overly sweet. As you see here, I'm adding my first addition of pepper skins and seeds, which I separated before I started the prep, or before I started adding things to the pot, because that way you can still get the smoky chipotle flavor without adding too much heat. Of course, if you like a lot of heat, you'll add more seeds, but first you gotta put all those ingredients into the pot and stir them. Now, one thing that I didn't do, which I should have done before cracking open the bottle of beer, is chilling it. Because as you'll see, as I poured it into the Pyrex measuring cup, it formed a big head because the beer was room temperature. So if you want to avoid that, chill your beer down, take it right out of the fridge and pour it like you would normally do a beer by tilting the measuring cup and then pouring the beer in. Once you get the about 12 ounces or so of beer into the glass, then add it to the sauce, or the base of the sauce, because it's not really a full sauce until you cook it, and then stir it. Okay, so then once the beer has come to a full simmer, add a touch more beer just to reinforce that beer flavor. You're not going to taste it much in the end, but the more sweetness and smokiness from that smoked porter you add, the more rounded the smokiness will taste. And it won't taste like it's just coming from a pepper. And of course, I had to pour some for myself to enjoy while I prepare the sauce. And as you see here, I'm adding more pepper skins and seeds as I go along. So it's also almost like adding hops you add more and more throughout the boil or here through the simmer, which is going to be about 20 or 30 minutes, just to slowly increase and intensify the flavor from the peppers. You know, the flavor and the spiciness. Each time stirring it in. Next, in order to thicken the sauce, you see here in the sped up clip, you put a bit of the sauce into a measuring cup, and then you add the cornstarch, which you saw in the beginning with all the ingredients, because you want to thicken up the sauce so it's not too liquidy once you start cooking with it or using it on the side when you eat it with meat or whatever you decide to serve it with. Now, stirring that cornstarch, and the idea here is to number one, thicken the sauce in the measuring cup, and also to get out the clumps of cornstarch because it tends to clump up really easily. So get out most of the clumps, and you'll of course get the rest of the clumps in when you pour it into the really hot sauce, back into the really hot sauce, and then keep mixing and mixing until you see all the clumps of cornstarch dissolve. And now at the end, one thing that I forgot, which you saw in the beginning listing ingredients, was I almost forgot to add the garlic powder to enhance the complexity of the sauce. So I made sure to, when I added more sugar at the end, to add the garlic powder. Now, before you pour the sauce into whatever your container you're going to be holding it in, whether it's a mason jar or we're using the ketchup bottle, you want to filter out the pepper skins and at least some of the seeds. So you don't need to use the finest strainer, but you want to strain it before you add it to wherever you're going to be keeping it. So I decided to take the label off the ketchup bottle which I used so I can dispense it more easily when using it. So I poured it into my bigger Pyrex measuring cup and then slowly poured it into the ketchup bottle, of course, over the bowl because there is, the risk of dripping it everywhere, which I did a little bit of. Okay, so once you get it filled up, you can then of course take a paper towel and you clean off the top and clean up the bottle so that you can put the top back on and move on to filling whatever else you're going to be holding in. This, you're adding liquid to the base, so you're obviously going to have more than just that ketchup bottle. And the vinegar and the sauce will help it keep for quite a while, so the more sauce makes, the better. So I chose to add it to a mason jar because it's a jar, it has a good seal to it once you close it up. You don't need I personally don't sterilize it because again the vinegar will probably kill anything that's in there, but you might want to do that depending on how long you're storing the sauce for. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed me making my Chipotle smoked porter barbecue sauce. As you saw, I refilled the ketchup bottle for easy dispensing, like when you want to just put it on the side on your plate to dip in, or when you want to cook with it, you can meter out a certain amount easier than just like pouring from a mason jar. But see, I did have a lot extra this time. I filled up another mason jar, and the vinegar inside the sauce will keep it for a while. So as long as you keep it sealed tight and in the fridge, it should be good. And then in my next episode of the Brewed Palate in the Kitchen, I'll be showing you my beer chili. So I have a good amount of leftover sauce, so I'm going to be putting some of the sauce, and maybe I'm still deciding on the beer, but it's usually a port or a stout. But I'm going to use some of the sauce in the chili, so I have a little left over to throw into the chili. So looking forward to showing you my beer chili, and hope you enjoyed this first episode of the Brewed Palate in the Kitchen. And I'll see you soon with some more good beer and food. Cheers.